Let's get some new details on Gran Turismo 7. Yacht Club Games is working on a super slick retro gaming experience. And I've got some thoughts on Dying Light 2 and the latest episode of the Book of Boba Fett. All that and the latest and everything cool today in the Rundown. Hey, welcome to the Rundown. My name is Victor Lucas, and I am so happy that you have joined us in the Electric Playground. We've got a great show for you today, and it's brought to you by our friends at the Gaming Stadium. They are Canada's leader in online esports tournament facilitation. They've got tournaments and fun things going on every single weekend that you do not want to miss out on, and you can find out all about them at tgs.gg. They've also launched a brand new platform for people that want to build their own tournaments. It's called pepper.gg, and you can put some cash on the line. You can get in there with some bragging rights and play with your friends totally free. Find out all about Pepper at pepper.gg. Okay, and we do have a dedication today. It's for a person named Grovel, and they were talking about the MLB news that we were talking about in the most recent rundown. As for publishing MLB on other consoles, people tend to forget that Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo are businesses. If they can make even more money working together, that is what they will do, and I think that is exactly what is happening right now. It's not just consolidation where corporations are purchasing other big corporations, but they're also, figuring out ways to kind of share their games. And the PC is one of the first places, and mobile is one of the first places, but I think we're going to start to see a lot more cross-console pollination. And it's going to get nuts. It's going to get weird. And 2022 has started off with a bang, and boy, have we got some incredible games to look forward to. But just interesting stories on a regular basis. I'm waiting for Nintendo to drop the, Switch 2 reveal. I feel like that's imminent. Like that could happen any moment now. Anyways, we do have a very big game to talk about right away, and Sony showed it off today with Gran Turismo 7. At their most recent State of Play, Sony showed off a little bit more of Gran Turismo 7, and they showed the incredible detail that goes into creating one of these games. Every time they step up to bat, Filoni Digital always over-delivers in terms of features and thought behind the development process. In this presentation, we learned that the designers and the creators, the developers and programmers were actually modeling weather patterns based on where you were racing on Earth. And so the stars would light up differently depending on the weather affecting the starlight, whether it was hazy or clear, and clouds would form differently, whether you'd be racing in California or Japan. It was pretty mind-blowing to sort of see that level of detail. Also in the photo mode, which was absolutely a standout element in the presentation, and I'm sure is going to be an incredibly popular part of what happens with Gran Turismo 7 when this game launches in March. Very impressive presentation. The only thing that I kind of wanted to say to PlayStation and Filoni is that I wouldn't mind seeing some crappier drivers out on the road. I know everybody's really, really freaking good that makes this game, and everybody loves their cars, and the people that stay with the Gran Turismo franchise, are excellent drivers. But I'm not. And every time I play Gran Turismo, I'm a little humiliated by my weaving and dodging and bashing and flailing all over the road. And I know that this is meant to be a game that sort of takes noobs and people that have never played Gran Turismo and carefully guides them onto these roads and tracks with all of these cars. There's over 400 different cars. And, it's supposed to be an easy entryway into all of this stuff. One of the things that they're really touting is that you don't even have to know anything or have touched a Gran Turismo game ever before, and you're going to have a good time. Still, I would have liked to have seen some sloppier driving, some sliding, some, bashing into the walls, hitting other cars. I know it's not that kind of game, but, it just feels a little bit more realistic for me, But yeah, massive multiplayer stuff. There's going to be some cool split screen in the game. It's coming out for PS4 and PS5 I'm excited to play it. Can't wait to try the haptic feedback on the DualSense controller and check out the 3D audio, which they're really obviously touting for the PlayStation 5 version, as well as the ray tracing. It does look glorious and a little intimidating, I got to admit, but also crazy amounts of fun. And I know all of you racing diehards that have loved this franchise are probably going nuts waiting for March to arrive and this game to be available for PS4 and PS5. All right, we have got another game on the way that was recently revealed from Yacht Club Games. Yacht Club partnered with our friends over at G4, and they did a cool presentation about a brand new title that they are working on, which doesn't look brand new, does it? This is actually, based on sort of 8-bit ideas that people would create for the Game Boy Color, only modernized at 60 frames per second, and obviously it's in widescreen. This is called Mina the Howler, and it sort of pulls from the idea of like Frankenstein and sort of gothic creations, obviously, Dracula and stuff like that. Mina is a character in the Dracula world, I believe, right? Didn't Winona Ryder play Mina in the Dracula movie? But you're playing as a little mouse in the game, and the gameplay looks like an interesting hybrid between Castlevania and The Legend of Zelda. And holy crap, do I want to play this game. It looks like it's really far along in development, but one of the things that they are doing is they want to, they've gone to Kickstarter with it, and they had a set amount of dollars that they were looking to, get confirmed before they, I guess, progressed and committed to the fact that this was coming. Well, that amount was hit within the first day, I think maybe within hours of it launching, and it's much farther than that. There's over 8,000 backers at the time of me, shooting this rundown right now. So clearly it's on the way, and it will be available for a multitude of platforms. There's still a lot of time left in the Kickstarter, and there's all kinds of perks and extra stuff. They're partnering with other companies, so there's t-shirts and things like that you'll be able to pick up as part of this, but it looks sensational. Yacht Club is one of my favorite developers out there, and publishers now, because they're, they self-publish a lot of their stuff. I just love their attitude and, their sort of cultured taste in games. I enjoyed talking with the people from Yacht Club last year in Vic's Basement. I'll definitely have them back. Just gave raves about Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeons, an excellent game, and I loved what was it called? Cyber Ninja? What the hell was it called last year? Was it Cyber Ninja? I think it's Cyber Ninja. It's a little generic in the title, but it was an excellent game that they published. And Mina the Howler looks like another just absolute standout title. And this one, I don't know the release date. I guess they're still sort of, putting some of the plans together. But God, they show off a ton of, progress and ideas in this trailer. Cyber Shadow. Thank you, Last Disciple. They show off lots and lots of great sort of, concepts about where we're going, but this also blew my mind. I haven't seen this Yacht Club Games logo. Isn't that cool? I love that thing. Very, very excited to play Mina the Howler, and I'll definitely be coming back with a review and streaming it whenever it's available, but I think we're going to have a little while to wait. That's a company that is always working on some cool stuff, so congrats to everybody over at Yacht Club. And now I want to talk a little bit about my experience playing Dying Light 2. Dying Light 2 Stay Human comes out very soon, and the folks over at Techland gave me early access to the game, so thank you for the review code. I have been playing a ton of this game, but I've also been consuming a lot of Pokemon, and when Pokemon came in, I got this just a couple days before Pokemon, the code for Pokemon, but Pokemon came in, I had to kind of, because it's already out, I had to kind of put it on the shelf and play more Pokemon so I could review that for you guys. So I haven't completed Dying Light 2 Stay Human, but I've played a lot of it, and I've got a really good idea of the systems in place. And essentially what you're getting at the core of the game is you are obviously squaring off against zombies. You're dealing with people that are trying to, live in the ruins of civilization. There's an apocalyptic event just like in the first Dying Light game. and people are infected, and there's a tremendous amount of ferocity between the humans, but also you've got these undead characters that are coming out after you and trying to kill you. And so that's sort of like the ever-present environmental threat that everybody has to face, but you're also dealing with the person-to-person struggles and the faction struggles and the turmoil. And one of the things that they tried to do with Dying Light 2, because everybody, I think, was pretty impressed with the gameplay and the flow of Dying Light 1. It's really become a tremendous sensation over the years. Lots and lots of players out there have stayed with Dying Light 1. It still has a huge fan base. And I think what they wanted to do with Dying Light 2 is work on the story and work on the character development. And, they've worked with developers that have worked on Fallout titles and stuff, and storytellers. A great big emphasis on writing for this game. And it's clear when you're playing the game that not only is this an action-packed experience where you've got parkour abilities and you're able to jump and run and that's Rosario Dawson there, by the way, but there's also been a tremendous amount of effort to make us interested in the people that populate this sort of dystopian Dark Ages kind of new world that has erupted after this massive infection that has crossed the land. The problem with the game, though, is that it's cluttered. It's filled with a little bit too much, and the storytelling is, it's kind of front-loaded, and you're meeting all kinds of people, and there's a lot of barbarism. Your character is also having flashbacks and thinking back to some brutal stuff that happened to him as a child, him and his sister. And so there's a revenge mechanic in there, but then it's also cluttered with a whole bunch of side missions and a whole bunch of characters that are, nattering away and talking at you. And one of the best things about the first Dying Light game was that it wasn't really a story. It had a story, but it wasn't, people weren't playing it for the story. People were playing it for the fun of the experience, the jumping and the killing of zombies and the parkour and all that stuff. It was just so fluid, and all of that is here. So the core of the game is still crazy amounts of fun. I just felt like we would get going and then we'd stop and we'd have this long cut sequence and we'd go back and forth with these different characters, and it was before I could really get a sense of whether or not I cared about this moment and their travails and their needs and wants, because obviously what you do in the game is you get sent out on missions. You're solving problems, you're finding characters, you're finding things and bringing them back to the bazaar, and there's people backstabbing each other, and there's all kinds of controversy, and you get sort of locked up in the drama of everything around, and all you're trying to do is just solve your dilemma and wipe out the a-hole that you want to see killed, and so a lot of stuff kind of gets in your way, and people will jump you and try to kill you, and you kind of have to deal with that. And the combat in the game is much more melee focused. That's not really a projectile shooting type of first-person shooter. This is really a up close and personal kind of experience all the way through. And so it's a little bit like Mirror's Edge in a way, all of the running and jumping and climbing, which is the best part of the game by far. But all of the combat and all of the sort of face-to-face interactions that you're going to have with the different characters is very visceral and bloody, and you're going to be bashing people's heads and slicing heads off using clubs and bats and axes and things like that. And it's okay. I mean, there's a physicality to it that I enjoy, but it feels a bit spazzy. And, you're obviously having to deal with your stamina. You can see a little stamina meter down at the bottom there. And so you're kind of focusing on trying to maintain that balance of being able to swing and take out everybody before your stamina runs out. You've also got, other things that you're building along the way, other crafting that you can do in the game to increase your skills in combat and increase your skills in parkour. You're also finding these different kits that will give you more health or more stamina, which is very, very needed because you feel very wimpy as the game sort of opens up and you can only climb for a little bit. And this is all about verticality and staying above the hordes and away from the zombies. And when you're doing that, it's crazy fun. When you're running away and being chased by, with speed and with ferocity, that's where the game kind of lights up. It's really, really fun that way. This is a game also that deals a lot with shadow and the sort of day-night cycle of the game as well. You can run around in daylight and, it's a little safer because obviously you can see the enemies and stuff. But when you're out at night, all of the zombies that have been sleeping during the day in some of these buildings, because you can go into lots of these buildings too, and it's beautiful interaction. It's all sort of real time. You're floating into and out of obstructions and buildings, and you're encountering all kinds of humans and dealing with them. You're saving characters and stuff like that. There's a fluidity there that's incredibly impressive. But of course, you can't see very far unless you turn the light on, and some of the zombies will see your flashlight and come after you. So it's a nice kind of balance. And you'll be sent out on all kinds of missions, like this one right here is you're climbing up a windmill to bring some power to the different area, and you create a safe house for yourself. And so, it's loaded with interesting content. This feels a little bit like Far Cry when you're climbing some of the towers and stuff. Some of these things are familiar to Dying Light 1 players or players of other games. Like, this is a game so loaded with systems that you've seen reused and implemented across the gaming industry. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody borrows from everybody else. It felt a bit to me like it was, there was a lot of love for the Fallout franchise and the Elder Scrolls franchise, and the Dying Light devs wanted to create something that evoked that level of storytelling, but it's not that tuned, and it's not that sort of, it doesn't bring you in with that same, kind of polish and craftsmanship. That's not to say it's not crazy fun, though, like the core of it. And I'm just at the point right now where I feel like the training wheels are off and I have a lot more freedom and there's a lot of sort of... There's a lot of gameplay that just sort of happens as you're cruising around that will legitimately startle you and scare you and keep you on the edge of your toes. And I appreciate that very much. I mean, I have been having a very good time with it. It's a very weird thing to jump from the beatific, child-friendly action of Pokemon Legends Arceus and then play Dying Light 2. I'll definitely come back with a full report. There's also cooperative play, which isn't active on the game, the copy that I have yet. They've got a day one patch that's coming. There are some issues, some bugs and stuff like that, but I can tell you that the presentation and the production quality is pretty remarkable. I'm loving the music and the sound effects. I've been genuinely startled by some of the sound effects in the game, and I am having a good time with it. I don't have like a full concept of where we are going with all of these different disparate elements with the storytelling and these different alliances that I'm making and the different characters that I'm meeting, but I am enjoying it for sure. It's a big game, and I certainly appreciate that we're going into and out of construction spaces, these giant buildings, so flawlessly and effortlessly and beautifully. It's really well crafted. So I'll come back with a full-on score. I think what I've played so far, I'd probably go into the 7.5 kind of area. It's entertaining, but it's a little messy. So yeah, sort of this in this review in progress, I'd probably go at around a 7.5, but we'll see. That might go up, especially as the patches come in and I get a little bit deeper into the content. I do want to talk a little bit about the Book of Boba Fett, and I'm going to give you a spoiler warning. I didn't spoil anything last week with episode 5, but I am going to spoil some stuff right now with the Book of Boba Fett. The 6th episode of the Book of Boba Fett aired today on Disney Plus, and I don't have footage from it. Disney isn't releasing anything really from episode 5 or 6, but things have changed considerably in the Boba Fett verse, which was spun out from The Mandalorian. So this is my last spoiler alert, but that should give you a clue as to what has happened. The Mandalorian has come back to the Book of Boba Fett and has taken sort of control of the series with episode 5 and 6. Last episode, we got a sense of the Mandalorian's new toolkit with the Darksaber and how important he is to the future of Mandalore, and he is judged because he actually, admits that he has taken his helmet off, which is a big taboo. But his Darksaber sequence and the way that he takes out all of these different gangsters at the beginning, the sort of the reintroduction of the character is just unbelievable. And the training sequence with the Darksaber was just so freaking cool. We got the building of a brand new spaceship for Mando. Jin Darin, I've never really said his name, so I don't know exactly. Jin Darin or something. You guys can correct me. But we get a sense of, that he's a conflicted character that still has a deep, deep love for Grogu, the little baby Yoda character that he took care of in season 1 and 2. And of course, we saw in season 2, at the end of season 2, that Luke Skywalker came into the story and actually took Grogu away to train him to be a Jedi. And so episode 6, we saw in episode 5 of the Book of Boba Fett that Mando actually crafts some armor based off of his Beskar steel spear that he has. He crafts some armor for Grogu, and he just misses him because they really bonded in their adventure. And so he says to Fennec Shand that he will help Boba Fett on his crusade to take over the Pikes, I believe they're called, this alien group that is trying to take over territories of Tatooine, and Boba Fett's going to fight them, but needs some help, and so he asks Fennec Shand to go and get Mando to help them. And so Mando says that he will help for free, but he's got to go and see about Grogu first. And so episode 6, and I'm sorry I don't have any footage, but it's kind of better that I don't, because you should just watch the damn episode. It's incredible. But episode 6, Mando does go and find Grogu and sees that Luke Skywalker is training our little beloved baby Yoda. And he sees Ahsoka Tano, Rosario Dawson, making a couple of different appearances in today's episode of The Rundown. And she's terrific. And there's this really fantastic sequence between Ahsoka and Luke where she mentions his father, and he's just like his father. And it's just such beautiful connective tissue across the spectrum of the Star Wars universe. We've got a character that has fondness and respect for 2 generations of Skywalker. And there just aren't that many characters in the Star Wars lore. It's an astounding episode, and the Luke Skywalker that we got in this episode is so much better than the season 2 of Mando. And I know what happened. They hired one of the people that did the deepfake improvement on Luke Skywalker on YouTube. They hired that guy and brought him into their visual effects department, and I suspect just better technology and better learning around this stuff just made a picture-perfect Luke Skywalker. The audio was a bit weird. It's like maybe they recorded, Mark Hamill's in the cast, so maybe they recorded him, but they de-aged his voice or something. But it felt a little overdubbed compared to everybody else that was on screen. But God, he looked like Luke Skywalker and a young Mark Hamill, and it's freaky, and it made me want the team to go back and fix Princess Leia in Rogue One. It was that good. And also young Jeff Bridges in Tron Legacy. If they could do that too, that would be awesome. It was a magnificent episode. We also, I've spoiled the hell out of it, but we also got a live-action Cad Bane from the Clone Wars. I haven't had the time to dig into every nuance in Star Wars lore. I've watched everything, but I can't recall every single element of the Clone Wars and Bad Batch, but I certainly remember Cad Bane. He's an incredible character. But I entreat you, not only should you absolutely watch the Book of Boba Fett, primarily because episode 2, 5, and 6 are standouts, but 5 and 6 are like a Star Wars movie that we didn't get, and now we got it. And it's like the best culmination. Like, Mando flies a Naboo starfighter that's been hot rodded up, and so it's like it's a Dave Filoni love letter to the prequels, and sort of, from a vantage point of admiring all the work that went into those. Also a love letter to the classic trilogy that Lucas worked on, and the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch, storytelling and the craftsmanship that went into those projects, and also Mando, and hopefully, because next week is the conclusion of season 1 of the Book of Boba Fett. It might be the conclusion of Boba Fett. I don't know what's going to happen, but Cad Bane comes back, into Star Wars lore, and the way that he is crafted is insane. It's so freaking cool. They did an amazing job with Cad Bane, and he takes out Timothy Oliphant's sheriff, and it's a beautiful end for that character, if that's true, because it sets up the ferocity of Cad Bane, because he does it so, it's a gunfight, it's a duel, and he just takes him out. But it shows how powerful Cad Bane is, because Oliphant's sheriff character, I forget the character's name, was super proven, like he stood shoulder to shoulder with Mando in season 2, and he was awesome. But he's wiped out by this new threat to the Star Wars universe. And God, I was flipping out. I watched it at midnight last night, and I was tired because I'd been playing Dying Light 2, and I'd stayed up the night before playing a lot of Pokemon, getting ready for yesterday's show. So I was just in a daze, but I was all of that brought me right out and to life, and I was like, good God, we are freaking so lucky that we get content like this with Ahsoka Tano and Luke Skywalker and Grogu, who has to make a choice at the end. This is the way that the excellent episode 6 kind of wraps up. He has to choose between his alliance and his love for Mando, or his new respect and his new opportunity to train to be a Jedi. So he chooses between Mando's armor and Yoda's old lightsaber, which Luke Skywalker... I can't believe I'm saying these things. It was so freaking good. And no one in my house has watched this stuff. I haven't talked to Johnny Millennium. I'm sure he's been freaking out. I've seen some other friends that have been flipping out. I haven't talked to anybody, but I'll tell you what I'm definitely going to do is I'm going to reach out to Sam Witwer and David Collins and maybe a few other Star Wars people that work on Star Wars that I know, and I'll see if I can organize a Vic's Basement to celebrate this stuff. But honestly, and I tweeted this, but give Dave Filoni, who directed this season, episode 6, by the way, and wrote it, give Filoni the Star Wars franchise. Make him the boss of the bosses. Make him Kevin Feige for Star Wars. Favreau's amazing too, but he's going to work on a bunch of different things. He's got his other universes that he works in. He still collaborates with Feige on Marvel stuff. Give Filoni Star Wars and let him take the reins, and don't let anybody near this franchise unless Filoni works with them. That's it. The guy is freaking proven. Watch Clone Wars if you haven't. I haven't seen Rebel. I haven't seen all the animated stuff, but now I want to watch all of it. I mean, I always have, but more and more so. It's like, good God. Filoni is outranking creatively what George Lucas gave us, I mean, Lucas opened the door and made all the money and the license, but Filoni's going in there and he's adding all of the color and the flavor and the life and the reasons and the value to a lot of this surface stuff that kind of worked, and some did, and some was excellent, and some was not great. And Dave's kind of adding justification for all of it, and I don't know, he's just going back into this universe and he's bringing it to life in some beautiful, beautiful ways, man. And I would love. Lucasfilm and Disney could take 5 and 6 and put that in theaters. And I almost wish that they would do something like that, this stuff is so freaking good. And the other thing that blows me away, and I'm not trying to slag J.J. Abrams, I loved The Force Awakens. I've talked about this, and there's, and Rian Johnson did a beautiful visual thing with The Last Jedi, but that was a mess, that trilogy. There's no way to kind of refute that, it was just all over the freaking place. They weren't working together. But I have to imagine, what Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams, when they're looking at the budget for these 2 episodes, which is probably 1/100th of what the these directors got to work with for their movies, and just how much pure and from the heart and meaningful, the hour and a half of 5 and 6 together were than any one of the. And it didn't even, it has Luke in it, but it didn't have all of the marquee stuff. And R2 was in it as well. Oh my God, it's just so freaking good. I hope you guys have seen it, and I hope you guys have been flipping out about how lucky we are that we get these things as episodic content. Now, the rest of the season hasn't been up to par with episode 2 and 5 and 6, but 5, that was a moment. It was emotional watching that. I gotta admit, the training with Grogu, and he's flipping and flying, and they're using the Force, and watching Mando come back, the Darksaber sequence and all that stuff, the training with that, and oh God, it's just so amazing. And a Cad Bane pop. I don't know where they're going with this 7th episode and how they're going to wrap up this season, but I'm very, very excited and very happy that I get all that stuff. So let me know what you guys thought of Book of Boba Fett up to episode 6 so far, what you're hoping for out of episode 7. Do you recommend this show to everybody? Were you as excited as I was? Thank you for letting me get that off my chest. I'm sorry if I spoiled it for anybody out there, but holy crap, you see a lot of glorious Star Wars-ness in episode 5 and episode 6 of Boba Fett. I'll watch episode 7 next week, and I'll come back with a full review of the season, but wow, chef's kiss. I've got a couple more things I want to talk to you guys about. Wordle, the big, huge thing, the sort of trendy word game that people have been playing on their phones and on their computers, has been bought by the New York Times. That happened earlier this week. It's made by a person named Jonathan Wardle, and he went on Twitter to talk about what's going on with Wordle. It's a solo developer, and the game is great. I don't know if you guys have played it, but you just play it on your browser. There's no app for it right now. But he says, I've long admired the New York Times approach to their games and the respect with which they treat their players. Their values are aligned with mine on these matters, and I'm thrilled that they will be stewards of the game moving forward. The deal is for about $1 million or something like, or it's in the 7 figures, so it's not a massive deal. It's certainly in context of these billion-dollar things that we've been seeing recently. I tried money as my first word right there, but you can see it's very sparse. It's not flashy. This game, you have 5-letter words, and you have to sort of choose different letters, and you can see if it's yellow, it's in the word, but it's not in that place. And so I was just tooling around with different words there. I eventually did solve this. You've got basically 6 attempts to try to figure out what that 5-letter word is, and it's a new word every single day that the whole world can play. And so it's a little bit akin to the crossword puzzles that the New York Times have been famous for, and it's a good fit. And so the big question is, will Wordle remain free? And New York Times is saying that yes, it will, but this also opens up the door for them to create different versions of Wordle. Certainly there's going to be an app for phones and stuff like that, maybe a dedicated app for computers. But it's a very interesting deal, and it was something that happened relatively quickly. It just became this phenomenon that everybody was talking about over the last few months or so. And I'm sure all of you on social media and stuff are seeing friends share their Wordle scores and all that. But it's an interesting story. It's a cool one, and it kind of shows that one human being can put something out on the internet and make it successful and change their life. If they've got a good idea and they hit at the right time, and they have something that gets people excited. So congrats to Jonathan Wardle. And then I got a tweet recently from our friend John Yomtov, and he let me know that there are rumblings that the Suicide Squad coming from Rocksteady, and we talked about this the other day when we were taking a look at Warner Brothers' 2022 slate, but it looks like this might not be a 2022 game. It's looking more and more likely that the Suicide Squad kill the Justice League is going to be delayed until next year. It kind of makes sense because obviously we have the Gotham Knights game that's coming out this year from Warner Brothers Games Montreal, and I believe that this is definitely going to be coming out this year. Jason Kilar, the CEO of Warner Media, kind of went out there and kind of promised that. So we're likely going to have to wait a little bit longer for the Suicide Squad game, but that's only going to mean good things for the development of this title. I think this is going to be the most ambitious title that Rocksteady has ever put together. It's, multiplayer with all of these wacky characters and their abilities, plus, cameos from Batman and the Flash and Superman and Wonder Woman, and they're all fighting against, these brainiac infections and stuff. It just looks incredible. And this little taste of gameplay is so overwhelming. There's so many things going on. It just is insane to look at, and it's cooperative, which is going to be so freaking cool. I can't wait for this game, and I think it's the right thing to let people take a breath from the DC superheroes that they're going to pop into Gotham Knights. Let us take a little breath before we dive right into this new experience. So I don't fault anybody on this decision. I don't know so much if it's a calculation on staggering the release dates so they don't crowd each other, which makes sense, or if it just needs a little bit more time to bake. But my thought on that is, make it great. We will wait. That's just keep working on these games, and they will inevitably just get better. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for the rundown. Thank you so much for watching today. You can watch live episodes if you're ever into that on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/EPN. Or if you watch our shows live on Twitch, you can watch edited pieces and all kinds of awesome classic stuff and lots of content on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/EPNTV. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks for supporting. And hello to all of our first-time viewers and chatters out there. Love to see you all here. We'll see you soon. And until then, play forever.